Hey, it's Brian Haskins, and in this video, I'm going to share with you my simple two-step process that you can use to not only find the buyers in your market, but also identify the buyers in your market that are paying more for deals. And the reason why this is so important is because most wholesalers are basically working with buyers that are just going to beat them up on price. And it creates a snowball effect that when you're working with buyers that are not willing to pay much for deals, you have to then go out and try to find deals that fit their criteria. So you're going to be lowballing sellers, so you're going to get less offers accepted. So that means that you're going to have to spend more time and more money to go out and find more leads and more deals that are just going to get rejected by your seller, because you have to lowball them to be able to get that offer accepted at a term that a buyer wants. The cool thing about wholesaling is that you control who you want to sell to. You're not just selling to any buyer. You're able to actually sell to buyers that are willing to pay significantly more for deals than most people. So what that does for us is that allows us to control how much money we want to make. It also allows us to be able to get more offers accepted whenever we're working with better buyers that are willing to pay more for deals. So let's take a look real quick. I'm going to show you the very first step. So step number one is we're going to build a buyer's list. Now, when it comes to building a buyer's list, you can use a ton of different tools out there. Anything that has sold property information. The tool that I like to use is a tool called PropStream. I'll post a link somewhere for those of you, but you basically just pull your county in, and what we want to look for is we're going to come underneath where it says filters. Now, when it comes to buyers, we want to always make sure that we're looking for the kinds of properties that essentially those buyers want. So we're going to stick with residential properties in this video. We're going to do single family, and then I like to do small multifamily, so that's 2 to 4, and then also duplex. And we're going to come down here, and also for simple purposes, I'm just going to put in what I normally do for like easy comps. So we want just normal types of properties, so 500 square feet to 2,000 square feet up to an acre, just to make it easy for us to kind of comp. Year built, typically I go up to like 2012 to kind of start, and then we adjust that based on some of our buyer criteria. From here, let's scroll down here a little bit. We want properties that are not listed on the MLS. And when we come down here, when it comes to buyers, this is the key, is that we want properties that are non-owner occupied. So that means they own the property, but they don't live in it. That's going to let us know that they're an investor buyer, okay? Now, 2 different ways we can do this. One, we can do this based on people that own the home in their own name, or we can do it based on people that own the home in an LLC. So I always deal with corporations. Now, some people skip this because they say it's harder to skip trace corporations, but it's really not when you know how to do it. But that's going to give us essentially all of the actual buyers in our market that are buying deals as a company, which is really important for us. So let's see here if there's anything else that we want to add. All right, that's it. Okay, so another big misconception when it comes to buyers is that you think that you want cash buyers. Cash buyers are not real buyers that are buying deals consistently. We want to find buyers that fit 2 criteria. The first criteria is that they want to be doing deals consistently, 2, 3, 5, 10 deals a month. Second thing we want to look for is, of those buyers, which are the ones that are actually buying deals and paying the most. So when it comes to investors that are buying properties, people that pay for properties with cash typically are not buying properties very consistently. A lot of times they're doing lines of credit or getting loans for properties. So when we do people that have cash buyers, you're actually eliminating a lot of the good buyers. So we can see right here in this county, so we're in Marion County, Indiana, we've got 23,000 buyers that fit our criteria. So the way that we narrow this down, we only want a couple hundred of those buyers to kind of start with. So what we look at is we go to last sale date. Now in this particular area, if we just go back a couple months, what that does for us is that's going to give us a pretty good chunk, so 375 buyers in that area. So if I click on view and then I go ahead and click on add to list, that's going to allow me to export this information. So this is step 1. We have to get our actual buyers list. That's step 1. Now step 2, I'm going to show you how to identify, of these 375 buyers, which are the buyers that are actually doing deals consistently and paying the most for properties. All right, so we got 375 of those buyers. So let's go ahead and we can now export that information. So we click on export. All right, so while Excel's opening up here, we can see enable editing. I'm just going to make this top a little easier to kind of see. So I'm just click wrap text. So the first thing we want to look at right here is owner last name. So remember, like I said, these are going to be company names. So if we sort them A to Z, what that's going to do for us, that's going to give us our duplicate buyers. So as we scroll down through here, we can see there's a lot of duplicate buyers. This tells us this market is good because there's a lot of viable buyers in the market. Now, normally the first step of what I do is I would eliminate anybody that's not a duplicate buyer. Now, we can see right up here at the top, these are going to be people that own the home, and they named the LLC the address name. So we can look over here at mailing address and see if there's duplicates in the mailing address and leave those in, or you can remove them, but those are going to be good landlord buyers. But we want to eliminate anyone that's not a duplicate buyer. So by doing that, we just come in here and we can eliminate all those people that aren't duplicate buyers. I know what you're thinking is that you're thinking probably that if we eliminate buyers, that screws up our opportunity, right? No. Having a list of buyers does not mean more opportunity. Having a list of the right buyers that fit our criteria is what we're looking for. So just identifying buyers that are buying deals consistently is what we're looking for. If you're only buying one property every quarter, that does not mean that you're a good buyer, because you're not going to be ready to buy when we've got properties ready to sell. So we need to find buyers that are buying deals consistently. So as you can see right here, all I did was just remove people that were not duplicates. Obviously, I didn't finish the rest of this list. But there's two things that tell us if these buyers are willing to pay more for deals in our market. So if we scroll over here a little bit, we can see right here last sale amount. And then we can also see right here, let me eliminate these two. So we can see last sale amount and we can see estimated value. So what does this tell us? This tells us right here, this is what they paid and this is what the value of the property is. Now there's some zeros in here because there's probably some non-disclosure. These are probably MLS listed properties where these are off market. So there is an extra step. You'd have to reach out to these buyers to find out kind of what they're paying for those deals. But if we can find buyers that are paying at or above estimated value, that's telling us that that's a serious buyer. So right here, this is what they paid and this is what the value of the property is. Look at this. This number is higher than the estimated value. We know that that person is paying at or above retail for that property. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only buyer that we want to work with, is if they're paying over retail. Because the reason why this is happening in this market is because this market is a strong rental market. So there's a lot of buyers that are willing to pay more because they're not looking at the value of the home. They're looking at essentially what they can get out of the property. So that's why we can find buyers that are willing to pay more for deals. So let me tell you a little bit about the two scenarios that we want to kind of look for. So why would buyers pay more than other buyers for properties? Well, it's very simple. Some buyers are going to be buying properties at a deep discount because they need to rehab that property and resell it and make all their money up front. So when we're dealing with buyers that need to make all their money up front on a deal, what happens is those are buyers that are going to make you a very low offer because they want to make bigger profits. If they're going to take the risk to rehab that property and resell it, they're going to want to have a big profit on that deal. So that's clashing with what you want because you need to make big profits on your deals. You need to make your profit up front as a wholesaler. So we're butting heads with those types of buyers. But the best part about real estate is that those are not the only buyers that we want or need to sell to. So that's really important for us because now we know that there's other buyers out there that are maybe thinking a little bit differently about a deal. So for example, let me give you two really quick examples. So one would be, what if you have a buyer that is not necessarily needing to make all their profit up front on a deal? What if they're going to buy that property and they're going to keep it as a rental? All right. What if they are willing to go in and actually just get that property rent ready? So the difference between the two is that you have one buyer over here that's a rehabber. They're looking at this property saying, oh, well, it needs, $60,000 in repairs because they want to make really nice repairs to that property and then resell it for a big profit. So they need to put more money into it to get that higher profit. Whereas someone that's just making enough repairs to get that property rent ready might be able to do that for $15,000. So right off the bat, there's like a $40,000 discrepancy in what buyer number one is willing to pay compared to buyer number two. So what we need to figure out is how do we essentially find those buyer number twos, and that's what I'm going to show you here in this video. But also, let's take it another step further. Buyer number one, not only do they need to make more repairs to create a higher profit on that deal, but they also are going to make a lower offer. So they might make an offer at 65 cents or 70 cents on the dollar compared to, whereas this buyer over here, maybe they're making their offer at 80 or 85 cents. So what happens is between these two buyers, not only do we have this buyer over here willing to pay significantly more, but they're also needing to put a lot less into that property to fix it up and for them to make their profit because they're going to make their profit incrementally over monthly payments. So that is so crucial for us to be able to see the difference between two buyers. So visually, we can see this buyer over here, they're going to make you an offer at $250,000, and they also think that it need, or I'm sorry, 200. So if they're making you an offer on a house that's $250,000, and they make you an offer at 65 cents on the dollar, and they think it needs $60,000 from repairs to get it to that profit point. Whereas this buyer over here in the $250,000 offer, they're going to make you an offer at 85 cents on the dollar. So right off the bat, we've got 20% difference higher. That's 20% that could be your profit, or 20% stronger of an offer that you can make to a seller to get that offer accepted. So the second thing is that they only need $15,000 to get that property rent ready, where this person needs $65,000. So there's $40,000. So not only do we have 20%, but we also have an extra $40,000 to play with when we're working with buyer number one compared to buyer number two. So this is exactly how we find the better buyers in our market, is we can see the buyers that are actually paying more for deals in the market, and we can figure out who those buyers are just by looking at the facts. So there's no guessing, there's no calling these buyers up and asking them what their buying criteria is, because we can see that information. So if you find this helpful and you find this beneficial, make sure that you let me know, because I'd love to be able to work with you to help you do this in your market. I can not only help you find better buyers, but also show you how to structure your business in a way to where when we find those better buyers, you're going to be able to get more offers accepted, secure bigger profits. So the cool part about this is that, let's say, for example, that seller is really motivated and they're willing to accept a really low offer. We now have created a much bigger spread. So you could have maybe made $5,000 or $10,000 on this deal selling to buyer number one. But for buyer number two, you could have just made $50,000 or $60,000 and still paid that seller more on the deal. So that's how you're going to be able to secure bigger profits for yourself. But let's say that, for example, that seller wasn't necessarily as motivated, but if we still have a buyer that's willing to pay more for that deal, what that does for us is now that allows us to make a stronger offer. We still maybe make $15,000 instead of the $5,000 or $10,000 that we were going to make with this buyer, but we also are able to make a stronger offer to that seller. And that's going to be the difference in getting more offers accepted, securing bigger profits, and all comes from choosing to work with better buyers. So I hope this makes a lot of sense for you, and it's really not any more difficult. All we're doing is taking one extra step and using the facts and the data that's in our market already to be able to see who the better buyers are and use that to be able to figure out who we want to work with. So again, drop me a comment. Let me know if this makes sense for you. And I'd love to be able to work with you. If you're looking for help, just reach out and let me know. I can work with you to kind of build this out in your market and help you create a snowball effect in the opposite direction. So instead of kind of losing profits and losing your deals, I can show you how to essentially secure bigger profits and get more deals. And that's exactly what I do for my students. So reach out and let me know. I look forward to working with you soon. Thanks.